Yeah, easy. Okay. Hello, this is my science project of how the sun will become a red giant, and by me, Benjamin. So I used a model that is like compare what our solar system would look like if it were a red giant, and like so I used like a compare model, like the solar system we have right now, and another model that shows what the solar system would look like when the sun becomes a red giant. So this is the first model, like when I first did it, and with after the prototype, with the feedback, I was able to improve the model and label it. And okay, so the information I needed was the age of the solar system, what happens inside a red giant, what happens inside our sun, and the distance between planets. So the problem I'm trying to solve is some people don't know that the sun is slowly heating up and one day it will vaporize the earth. So I will show them when and how it will happen. And with my model, I will show them how the sun will become a red giant in the first and second phase. So the sun right now is undergoing the process of nuclear fusion in its core, and it has done it from 4.5 billion years ago, going from cool and dim into hot and bright. By every passing day, the sun gets hotter and hotter, and it is said that in 1 billion years, Earth will no longer support life since it will be so hot, even the oceans would evaporate away. Here's a video that I have. Let me just stop sharing. Okay. Oh, wait, I have to share audio, right? Yeah. Go to this one.
Our current sun is doing nuclear fusion at its core, and it's maintaining high. Our current sun is doing nuclear fusion at its core, and it's maintaining hydrostatic equilibrium because the inward pull of gravity is balanced with the outward push of pressure, and this is keeping it from swelling up. But when the fuel of the star runs out, this is what happens. Okay. Hydrostatic equilibrium can no longer be maintained, and the core starts to shrink because of the inward pull of gravity. And when the core starts to shrink, it starts to collapse. And when it collapses, it produces so much heat that the outer core starts to collapse with it. And when this happens, the outer core starts to do nuclear fusion. When this happens, the star releases so much energy and light that makes it swell up and become its first phase of a red giant. Now, this phase will only reach Venus's orbit. And what happens is that the sun continues the core of the sun continues to collapse, and by that it's producing heat. It goes from 20 million Kelvin to 100 million Kelvin, and with this kind of heat, helium is able to transform into oxygen and carbon. So when that happens, the star starts to make to to have equilibrium again, and it shrinks into like the sun we have, but a little bit bigger. It shrinks and it maintains hydrostatic equilibrium. But this won't last forever because when this is still happening, the star will collapse again. And when it does, it will become the second phase of the red giant. When this happens, Okay. Okay. So when this happens, what's happening inside the star right now is that the core continues to shrink and collapse, and it releases so much energy. And with this, it will release all of its mass and become a nebula. But the Earth, in this case scenario, the Earth can either end up two ways. So when the sun becomes a red giant, it loses mass and it loses the whole of its planet, so the orbits expand and the Earth survives. But life won't be sustainable because of how close it is to the sun and how much heat it would be. Or there's another scenario where the Earth is and it enters the surface of the sun and it evaporates from its surface to its core. Thank you.
Okay, so are there any questions you want to ask me, or should I like ask you some questions? Like, is there anything you want to ask?
I'll ask.
Okay.
How long would it take for this to happen? Like from where we are now, how long would the sun take to become a red giant?
Okay, so the sun is a medium mass sequence star, so it lives about 10 billion years, and it is said that the sun is 4.5 billion years. So in 5.5 billion years, the sun will run out of fuel and become a red giant. Any other questions?
Yes, do you think that we will actually make it to that point before the sun explodes?
I think human stupidity will kill us before, and even though we will not even make it to the 5.5 billion years, because first of all, in 1 billion years, the sun will become so hot that the habitable zone would have moved probably to Mars. So the Earth would be so hot, the oceans will melt away and life wouldn't be sustainable. So yeah.
Do you know why the sun is going to become so hot in like a million? I don't know if you said a million or a billion years.
A billion, yeah. It's because it's like currently going through nuclear fusion, right? So how to explain this? Okay, so it's going through nuclear fusion, and every time it becomes hotter because the particles start to change from one type of nuclear fusion to another, that happens in more heat. That's why it starts to heat up, like because the sun at the beginning was cool and dim, but now it's like hot and sustainable for us. But it said that Venus was like Earth, but then the sun like became older, and that's why Venus is like a living hell. That's why they call it Earth's evil twin. But yeah, it's because of nuclear fusion happening faster and faster.
So it's a process that is natural of like any star.
Yes, every star will actually no. Every medium sequence star will every star will run out of fuel eventually. Like yeah, but every star has its different ways. Like a star, like the sun, will just become a nebula, and it will just expand so much that its surface will like eventually leave it. But like bigger stars can have supernovas, and they can like become even hotter, but they live shorter. So that
Okay,
now,
thank you.
yep. Okay, so here are some questions with you. I'll start with my sister. Did you know that the sun was gonna be going to become a red giant?
I did not know that.
Okay, did you know the sun was going to go through this phase 2 times?
No, because I did not know the first one.
Did you understand why the sun will eventually become a red giant?
Yes.
Okay. Majo, same questions. First one.
I knew that eventually it was going to complete the cycle of the star and that it was going to kill us all. I did not know the process of the two phases, And I did understand.
Okay, Connie. Hace fugo. Megan,
Yo.
dilo en español si
I
quieres.
didn't know that it was going to become a red giant. And if I didn't know that, I didn't know about the two phases. But yeah, I did understand why it'll become a red giant.
Okay, that was definitely Connie. Megan,
No, I didn't know the first one and the second one, but yes, I understand the red sun, the red giant sun.
okay, Erlinda. All right. Well, that'll be all. Thank you. God. All right.